Now, this week, the UK's Big Four accounting firms were given until 2024 to separate their audit practices, following an edict from the accounting regulator there that marks the largest shake-up of the industry in decades. And this looks like the biggest overhaul of the top four accounting firms since the failure of Carillion in 2018 that brought KPMG under scrutiny for what was seen as an audit failure. Well, South Africa has also felt the pressure, having its own share of scandals. And to talk to us about whether reform is on the table here at home, I'm now joined by newly appointed CEO at the Independent Regulatory Board for Auditors, IRBA. We're joined by Jenitha John. Thanks so much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much for having me, and good afternoon to your viewers as well.
All right, so the auditing profession has been taking a battering for some time now, and some might even say they've lost trust in its ability to do the job that it's supposed to. Is it going to be a long road back to regain some of that trust, do you think?
Look, I think the damage has been done. And there are many interventions in place currently. I think you would be familiar with the IRBA has a lot of restoring confidence projects on the go. I've had my initial, being brand new into the role, I've had my initial discussions with various stakeholders that make up this ecosystem that we all work in. And we would be looking at ways and means of leveraging the various projects and interventions to restoring credibility and confidence in the profession as we walk this journey together.
All right.
In terms of timing,
you
will see milestones along the way in terms of timing as well.
All right, let's start with what's happened in the UK. The watchdog body there has essentially given these big four firms time to unpack, as it were, and I just wonder, what does that mean? And those firms are all represented in this country. So whilst the regulations may apply in the UK, is it something that you're watching here and thinking about here as well?
Peter, I'm going to give you a little bit of history in terms of understanding what had taken place in the UK, and then I'll link it back to what we're doing here in South Africa from the perspective of reinstilling confidence in the profession itself. So from a background perspective, yes, we understand, and most of the audience would be familiar with the collapse that's took place in the UK environment, specifically when we look at companies like Carillion, BHS, Thomas Cook, and more recently, you would have noticed the last weeks talking about Wirecard. And what it did was it triggered a string of reviews into the audit sector itself that called for significant reforms. And these reviews, there were three independent reviews actually that were commissioned in terms of the state of the audit market in the UK. One was the Bryden Review. It was published in December 2019. One was the Kingman Review, which was published in December 2018. And then the other one was the Competition and Markets Authority, which published a report in April 2019. All three reviews came out with sweeping changes that were proposed in terms of the audit market there. It included aspects around a new supervisory authority, which called the Audit Reporting and Governance Authority, joint audits, and now what has been announced with the operational split of the auditing and consulting services in the Big Four itself. So yes, we are monitoring very closely what would take place. The split has to be done in accordance with 22 principles, trying to achieve some desired outcomes. And there's lovely documents that you could read, informative documents, which are again designed to improve audit quality, things that we are striving for here in South Africa, and promote audit market resilience. And what in essence it's trying to do is that it's trying to create these strict structural boundaries that need to persist between the audit practice as well as the rest of the firm. So in essence, you can actually call it a firmer Chinese wall or a thicker Chinese wall, I guess.
Yeah.
So again, it is just one part of very much a holistic package of reforms that's recommended by these three reviews itself. And yes, in South Africa, we have also seen a flurry of corporate failures, which warrant a deeper introspection on root causes and lessons learned. And for me, it's so vital that we look at the entire governance ecosystem. We all are cognizant of the fact that there are many sets of eyes that are part of aggregating information for decision making. And at the same time, you have many sets of eyes that look at testing the veracity of such information across the different lines of accountability in an organization. And I think it's very good to have world-class standards, to have a strong regulator in place which govern disciplines across these three lines. But we are still experiencing as a country the form of corruption and failures that cause incredible harm to the public.
All right, let's explore a couple of things. When I was much younger, there were lots more audit firms. There was Coopers and Lybrand, and then there was Price Waterhouse. Then they merged. There was Peat Mitchell. All these firms, and over time, they've just literally eaten each other up. And that's how we ended up with this Big Four, Big Five, whatever you want to call it. Is there an argument to split up these companies and make them much, much smaller so that there's more players in the game than to have almost an oligopoly?
Yeah. We do have many, many companies across the regime in South Africa. And I think for us as the IRBA, we have reinforced independence. I think our big priority is reinforcing independence, fostering professional skepticism. But more importantly, it's also looking at the imperatives around transformation and competition in our country. So yes, there is merit around looking at joint audits to enhance the capabilities of the mid-tier firms as well, so that we can uplift the competitive landscape that we have in this country.
All right, so how do we overcome the challenge? And some people might think, how can you audit someone that's going to pay you for that audit?
I think that's also quite a moot point in terms of who are auditors accountable for. And I think predominantly they need to stress the importance of the public interest, as well as the different role players from the perspective of the shareholders, the board of directors. Again, those are aspects that we would be considering in the future. Again, reinforcing the independence capability. So when you look at what the IRBA has done over these last couple of years, there's quite a few interventions that have been put in place. So when we talk about the mandatory audit firm rotation, so our firm emphasis has been on independence and opening up the market a little bit more. So when we look at mandatory audit firm rotation, which becomes effective in 2023, we've seen early adoption by the JSE listed entities as well. There's also a call for joint audits. There's also, from enhancing the audit quality aspects, we've put in place various initiatives around audit quality indicators. So there's various things that we need to tap into, and understanding the root cause of what we've experienced in our country is vitally, vitally important. In terms of restoring the confidence we need in the profession.
All right. Jenitha, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Love to chat to you a bit more. I suspect that we'll need more conversations over time just to gauge how much progress you're making. But thanks so much indeed. And good luck in your new position. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Extremely short, but as I say, we've got a lot on the table, and I'd love to have an opportunity to share what is being planned in terms of walking this journey for South Africa.
We'll certainly have that chat again soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That was Jenitha John, who's the new CEO of IRBA, talking to us about how they're trying to turn around the image that the auditing profession has at the moment. Okay.